obviously given. Love that. Easy. All right, P is the midpoint of X, Y, and of AB. So P is in the middle of both segments. So what do you think I would mark there? What's one thing I would mark if P is the midpoint of both of them? Marquise?
On segment AP and PB.
Good. Put a line on AP and PB. Let's write that down. Segment AP is congruent to segment PB. And since it's a midpoint of the other one, Marquise?
Two congruent markings on XB and then PY.
Good. Make sure you put different markings because obviously you can tell they don't look the same, but they're definitely not. And we can write that on the same line because that's the same definition. XP congruent to PY. And that would be the definition of a midpoint. So again, I will cross off my given. That's all I was given, so I'm done with given. Now, what can we conclude from the picture? Lauren? Vertical angles. Good. Mark them. And want to go ahead and number them too, make it easier. So angle 1 and angle 2 are congruent. So angle 1 is congruent to angle 2 by the vertical angles there. Anyone doing proof D?
Yeah, we are.
So good.
How many steps are in this proof?
Wait, we don't have the homework.
Did you finish one of these?
Yeah.
Proof D has 7 steps.
Oh,
You need a lot. You need a lot of reflexive properties,
Oh, did I get that wrong?
like multiple reflexive and around.
In proof D, for anyone watching the video, this doesn't.
Like, has anyone gotten this right?
You're my first geometry class.
Oh.
This is too much work.
All right.
Like, what you say, Tara?
ones that are going to be this hard on the test?
No, I just have
I'm
to
gonna
challenge some people that are in
Well,
honors.
I'm gonna do B as a backup in case you can't get that.
I just want you guys to challenge
Are
yourselves.
they always in my
Hey, like, I think you can do it.
Yes, sure. I didn't even determine if they're worth points yet.
Okay. Alright, fine. But we'll do that anyway.
All right, why are these triangles congruent?
side angle side.
Yes, SAS. And then this one's actually really similar to the homework question we just went over with the parallel lines. These are the ones you want to be real careful that you don't pick the wrong pair of alternate interior angles, right? And again, those of you that like highlighters, I suggest them because they make it easier to see the parallel lines. You can just use your pencil and bold it if you want, but that will help. So of course we have given. Maddie, what would we like to do first?
Well, would I mark
question.
the thing by A and the one by C, or alternate interior angle?
Those?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't want to do
Now technically this angle is also by A,
that.
right?
Yeah.
So you do want to be careful, but it has to be these two because it has to touch the parallel line and be along the same transversal. So let's go ahead and put a 1 here and a 2 here. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 2 by the alternate interior angles theorem. And you want to be careful because on the quiz, if you were to number the other ones 1 and 2 and tell me they're congruent, you're wrong. So we don't know the other lines are parallel. Now, had we have known those were parallel, you could do both sets. We also want to mark our Lauren, you're correct. Shared side. Oh, I should have marked the angle, huh? So AC congruent to AC reflexive. And these triangles are now congruent by which postulate? Be careful. Angle, angle, side. Angle, angle, side. Angle, angle, side. I'm just saving time for notes. Obviously, we would normally rewrite the proof statement.
Couldn't that be angle side angle because the parallel lines would have congruent marking?
The parallel marking does not mean they're congruent necessarily. You actually can have, and we'll see, like a trapezoid, which will have parallel lines, but they're not congruent. So parallel does not tell you that they're congruent. Okay. That's a good question. And then this one is the hardest one because it has that perpendicular again. This is a good question to review for your quiz. Okay. So we'll probably see at least one perpendicular on there. Okay. What do we want to start with? Do we want to do shared side first? We like it? Definitely, for sure. AM congruent to itself. Got a point right away. At least I'm not getting a 0 out of 6, right?
Yeah.
Well, you got the given too. Although I think I filled that in for you on the. I think on the quiz I filled that in. Yeah, I do. Sorry. Okay. Now what? Now what? Now what? Now what? Marquise.
You could put congruent angles at the top.
Congruent angles at the top, he says. Because of this?
Yeah.
AM bisects angle XAY. So you go and you find angle XAY. This is bisecting that angle. So we said let's put congruent angle markings at the top. We want to call those 1 and 2? And that would be then angle 1, congruent to angle 2. Marquise, our reason?
Definition of congruent angles.
No. Look at the word, look at the word.
The definition of bisector.
Good. Definition of a bisector. What type of bisector?
Angle.
Angle bisector. And again, always look at what you wrote. It was angles, so it has to be an angle bisector. The definition of an angle bisector is that it divides the angle into 2 congruent angles. Okay, so that's done. Now, what is the definition of perpendicular again? Maddie?
Right angles.
Right angles. Put in right angle markings. Let's call these 3 and 4. We cannot say they're congruent yet. That's a mistake we make a lot. We have to say that they are right angles. So angle 3 and angle 4 are right angles. Because the definition of perpendicular says they intersect to form right angles. So this will be the definition of perpendicular lines or segments I would accept. Then we can say they are congruent because we know right angles are both 90 and 90 is equal. So angle 3 is congruent to angle 4. Now it's not the definition of a right angle. That's one thing that a lot of students make the mistake of thinking. The definition of a right angle is that it equals 90. So if you were to do the definition, that would be measure of angle 3 equals 90. We don't want to do that because we want to stay with congruent symbols.
All right angles.
Good. Either all right angles are congruent or the right angle congruence theorem. That's what the theorem says. That's the name of the theorem. And so now the triangles are congruent by what? East? ASA. Is that it? Is that all that's in the notes? This is easy. What would we mark in this picture? Shared sides. So the triangles are then congruent by what?
Side, side, side.
Yep. And we would say congruent statement would be triangle, for example, NOE is congruent to SOE.